When Arken introduced the EP5, it was a game changer. At half the price of comparable scopes, it brought long-range precision to the masses. Well, this is the EP5 Gen2. This 5 to 25 power first focal plane scope offers Japanese ED glass, precision turrets, and a price accessible to us poors. So, what makes the Gen2 different? Well, hit that like button and we'll take a closer look. Let's keep this unboxing short so we can just see what you get inside of the box. This is the new Arken EP5 Gen2. It is a 5 to 25 power scope with a 56mm objective lens and a 34mm tube. And this is the new Gen 2 version of the scope under Arken's new management that has improvements to the glass. But in terms of external changes, I really can't see any that I can note other than in the battery compartment knob on the illuminator. Here you can compare this to the Gen 1, and this is the MOA version of this scope, by the way, and you can see really, well, despite the fact that this has all the kit on it, but really the only differences I can see are in the shape and the size, the diameter of the battery compartment here. The original one has a Arken logo etched into it, but the new version is plainer. It just has a slot, and that is to comply with some federal laws regarding coin batteries. They want all battery compartments of devices that use coin batteries to be only accessible using a tool. So it does come with a plastic tool, but of course you can use any flathead or large coin to access our battery compartment. 2032 coin battery, by the way. And our knob turns smoothly, or turns easily, indexing with 6 levels of illumination and an off in between, and it shares the turret with our parallax focus. Difference also is that this is slightly smaller than the original one in terms of diameter, and that helps to differentiate the two different knobs that you have on the same turret and keep you from accidentally turning one when you mean to turn the other. Now, it shares the turret with our parallax focus, which turns butter smooth, goes all the way down to 20 yards for minimum focus, and our elevation and windage turrets are what Arken really is famous for. Take a listen. Wow. Again, like their Gen 1s, very audible, tactile positive, very sharp, definitive clicks, and each of the clicks is a 1/10 of a mil. And our windage, perhaps even louder. Again, no slop. And each is a 1/10 of a mil, and it is user resettable. You just have to loosen up the set screws on top. There's 3 on each of the turrets to reset that turret. And it also has the very simple and easy to use zero stop. You just loosen up this locking set screw here on the side that's brass colored, and then you cinch down your zero stop screw to set your zero stop, and then tighten it back down to lock it in. And we'll keep this off for now because we're going to be testing our range of adjustments at the range in a bit. But let's take a look at our magnification ring. That turns smoothly. You really don't even need a throw lever for this at all. And our diopter fast focus, again, also turns smooth. So yeah, overall, this is everything I really liked about the Arken EP5. And potentially better, but we'll have to take this out, mount it up, and take a look through the glass and see. We're looking through the Arken EP5 at the peak of Mount Davidson, approximately 1,500 yards away, and I have the scope set at its lowest power of 5 for a best overall view through this glass. And what I'm seeing is a very sharp, clean, bright image, sharp from center to the outer edge, and very color accurate in terms of color balance and fidelity. Now let's bring this up halfway to 12 power, and halfway is typically a scope's sweet spot. Pardon the wind noise, it is a breezy day here. And yeah, this is still a very sharp, detailed image, and really no chromatic aberration to really make note of. And typically you'll see that in high contrast areas, like where the tree line is silhouetted against the sky. Now let's bring this all the way up to its maximum magnification, and as we magnify any scope, we are magnifying all the faults in the glass. And we have lost some light, but there's still really good detail in the foliage and the foreground. And it's easy to make out the trail marker sign at the top of the hill there. That is that white object peeking up above the bushes to the right of the center crosshairs. That's about a 3-foot-ish sign on top of a pole, which is a good proxy for an IPSC target at this distance. We're pointed at a shaded tree nearby to test the illumination. I'm going to set this scope at its maximum of 6, and I can barely see that right now. Let me put my hand in front of the bell so you can see that a little more clearly. It's just the very center cruciform on that reticle that is illuminated. And when you bring it down from its maximum of 25 to its widest of 5 power here, you really can't see that very clearly. It's very faint. So it's certainly not daylight bright, but would be useful in twilight or low light situations. We're looking through the Arken EP5 Gen2 at its lowest power of 5 at our target board downrange 100 yards away to get our best overall image through the glass. And you can compare the image what you're seeing inside of the glass to the world outside of the glass. And what I'm seeing is a nice bright image and very color accurate, very color balanced. Now let's check our range of adjustments, compare them to our specs here, and that is the very top of our elevation. You can see the eye box peeking in there, that black edge at the very top. This has a rather unforgiving eye box, and that's the very bottom. But given its high magnification range, that is to be expected. And let's dial this back to factory 0, and now let's check our windage. That is the very right extent, and that is the very left extent. No dead clicks on these turrets, and very nice feeling turrets, by the way. Alright, let's bring up our magnification now to its maximum of 25 power and take a look at that target board. And you can see a little bit of chromatic aberration, some color fringing in the outer edge of the board, but overall it's actually pretty good. You can see a lot of good detail, including the pock marks on the backstop behind our target, despite the fact that it is in shadow. And you can see that we are lined up to the bottom left highlight on that grid target, so it's a good reference point to do a box test. Let's do a full rotation on our elevation, full turn, full rotation, and now full rotation on, well, actually not a full rotation, it's the maximum rotation that we can do on our windage. And let's turn back our elevation a full rotation, and now let's turn our windage back to factory 0. Now let's give these turrets a little bit more of a torture test. This is the nipple twister test created by my buddy Cyclops Joe for his channel. I'm just going to turn the heck out of these turrets and see if it'll come back to factory 0, to its original starting point when we dial this back to factory 0. Let's go with our windage, and now our elevation. Not bad. Alright, let's tilt this scope down a bit so we can clear the Christmas tree from the target board and take a look at that target now. One thing to note is that it is equally sharp from center all the way to the outer edge, and you can even make out the fine lines in the grid target on the top right. And in the color card on the top left, you can see good color vibrancy and a good detail. You can see individual gray squares on that grayscale chart on either side of our color circle. And on the paper target on the bottom left, you can easily make out the bullet hits on the reactive sticker target on the center, but also 2 tiny 22 caliber holes on paper below that sticker target. And in the resolution chart on the bottom right, I can make out both horizontal and vertical lines all the way down to element 1 in group 0, and with my naked eye finer still, which is quite impressive. Let's compare the EP5 Gen 1 to the Gen 2 side by side. Now, at first it may seem like the Gen 1 is brighter than the Gen 2, but on closer inspection, if you look at the brightest part of the image, the target board in the right half of the board, that paper is actually white in real life. The Gen 2 is a little more color balanced, a little less brown warm tinted than the Gen 1, And if you look at the paper on the board, they're both about equally bright. The difference is the Gen 2 offers higher contrast. It's akin to looking at an older LCD TV and a newer OLED. The darks are just darker and richer and offers greater detail. The Gen 1, while at first appearing brighter, is actually hazier and a little more washed out. But both offer excellent resolution and sharpness, especially at this price point. One other major difference with the Gen 2 is the addition of the Tor reticle on the right. The original VPR reticle is on the left. The Tor is optimized for long-range competition shooters with finer subtensions between the mills, holdover center points in the Christmas tree grid, and a finer center dot. And with the Tor, more of the cross and the entire Christmas tree is illuminated. You can see that here when we zoom out to 10 power. But if you prefer the more focused tactical reticle, you still have the VPR in both MIL and MOA. Before we get into it, I just want to thank Arkin for sending out the EP5 Gen2 for me to test out. And while we're at it, I want to thank you for hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you haven't, what are you waiting for? It just takes a second. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything to become a subscriber to this channel. So thanks for hitting like and subscribe right now. And let's just cut to the chase. The Gen 2 is an improvement on the Gen 1. And maybe that isn't super obvious. Certainly on the outside, the really only changes I can see are in the battery compartment, and that's to comply with federal regulation. And the ocular bell, the diopter, is larger on the Gen 2, and that provides improvements on the eye box. And the Gen 2 has a longer eye relief than the Gen 1, though I wouldn't necessarily call it a more generous eye box, really, but it is an improvement. And the biggest improvements have to be in just the overall glass quality. And I always thought, and I still think, the Gen 1 is an excellent scope in terms of its Japanese ED glass for the price. It's just great. And the Gen 2 is just that much better. It's really akin to like a TV monitor, comparing an LCD to a new OLED. Just the level of sharpness, the greater details in because of the contrast improvements on the Gen 2. Yeah, it's a better scope, and they're not charging any more for it. It's still a very affordable scope, and that's the great thing about Arkin. They really did change the whole landscape of what a budget scope, or a scope that was under $2 or $3 grand, could be, and really brought long-range precision optics for PRS, for bench rest, to the rest of us who don't have tech money or whatever. So yeah, I applaud Arkin for that. Let me know what you think in terms of if you think Arkin improved the overall optics market for all of us. And I have to say that they're actually improved as well in terms of their customer service, because they're much more responsive to my emails now than they were a few years ago when the EP5 first came out. I don't know, maybe that's my own perception about that. Let me know what you think. Again, they have a lifetime warranty and a very affordable scope. So if you'd like to learn more details about the EP5, you can read my blog at moondogindustries.com, and of course you can check out links in the video description. So thanks for checking that out, and thanks for taking the time to check out this video. God bless. Moondog out. What did you think of the video? Leave me a comment, and you can always chat with me on X, Facebook, or Instagram. You can find useful links in the video description, and check out my other videos, channels, and my website, moondogindustries.com.